The Georgia Guidestones have been bombed. I will repeat that again. The Georgia Guidestones were bombed and severely damaged. This is one of the most shocking and terrifying stories. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are probably celebrating and cheering this stuff, but the idea that someone would go and bomb something in the middle of the night just says we are getting into dangerous territory. I talk about civil war quite a bit. This is a component, the bombing of structures. We saw it with the left. They were tearing down statues. Now, I can only assume this is anti-New World Order, more conspiracy theory oriented. Who knows? Maybe nationalist oriented. The Georgia Guidestones, for those who don't know, are considered monuments to globalism. They are these strange structures that were erected in 1980, which have a bunch of information for how to calculate math, calculate celestial poles, and it gives you rules. It gives humans rules for how to live properly. Now, some believe these rules are a warning, essentially. Not a warning, it's the wrong way to phrase it. That they're Guidestones. The actual acceptable mainstream idea, per the narrative, is that they were erected during the Cold War, when there was a fear that nuclear war would wipe out the world. And so, tablets were secretly erected. I say secretly because no one knows who put them up. And they contain multiple languages with instructions. And if humanity was wiped out in nuclear war, those who stumble upon them would be like, now we know how to rebuild. Some believe that they're actually a prescription for what needs to be done to save the world now. And perhaps both are true. Perhaps the Guidestones were erected because there was a fear the world will be wiped out. Is there not still a fear the world will be wiped out? This time by something different. Not by nuclear war, but by climate change and overpopulation. And if that is the fear, then what does it really mean? The Guidestones say to keep the Earth's population under 500 million. And if overpopulation and climate change is the new existential threat, then many believe that these are effectively saying people need to be culled, like deer. Here's the reality. We as humans often do cull species like wild boar or deer because we recognize that they devastate local ecosystems. And there are people who feel similarly to human beings. I don't believe that it's correct. I believe there is a problem with overpopulation and population density, and we need to change. But I don't believe this is the answer. The latest news from WYFF4.com. An explosion Wednesday at the mysterious Georgia Guidestones in Elberton, Georgia, has caused significant damage to the stones. The preliminary information indicates that someone detonated an explosive device at around 4 a.m. on Wednesday, according to the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. GBI officials said officials at the Elbert County Sheriff's Office found the explosion destroyed a large portion of the structure. The Elbert County Sheriff's Office asked the GBI to assist with the investigation. The Guidestones sit in a site 7 miles north of Elberton on Georgia Highway 77 and are often referred to as an American Stonehenge. Sky 4 flew over the site. Take a look at these photos. You can see this right here. It is one of the stones has been reduced to rubble. Amazing. Now, initially, we didn't know what caused the explosion. Witnesses have said that they heard an explosion around 4 a.m. And now the GBI is saying they believe someone detonated an explosive device. This is crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy stuff. It's not the first time the Guidestones have been vandalized. Going back to 2014, people were spray painting stuff on them saying the New World Order will lose. I'm going to tell you what the Guidestones are first. I want to break down so you understand, because many people may say, what is this? What are the Guidestones? They're called a monument to the New World Order, to globalism. Now, I want to say something very important before we get into all of this, and we'll get into it again. The narrative is breaking down, and people are saying no more. Maxwell, Epstein. There was a poll I saw in the mainstream media, said that majority of Republicans believe that the world is run by a cabal of, let's just say, child abusers. And it was framed as though they were all crazy people. There are narratives about Hillary Clinton and pizza and things like that. All that's dumb. Very, very dumb. Now, Someone eventually takes this crazy story, goes to a pizza place. It's all very, very stupid. And so I tell you, you got to make sure you're following the evidence and not pulling yourself to where you want to go. Right? Make sure you say, what does this information mean? And not, I believe X is true, therefore let's find information to back that up. You can't do that. Otherwise, a crazy person walks into a pizza place thinking there's a basement and there isn't one. But let's talk about this. Is there a cabal of elites abusing children, running the world governments? Well, I don't know. What I can say is Epstein was arrested. He's dead. Maxwell was convicted of trafficking minors with Epstein. To who? We know who flew on Epstein's plane. We know who was in that little black book. We know it included world leaders. Bill Clinton. We know there are photos of Epstein with Donald Trump. Does that mean Trump was involved? I don't know. And I don't care. Release all of the names. Now, Trump supporters will tell you Trump was like, no, he's a bad guy. He's a creepy guy. I don't care. I'm not here to defend anyone. I'm here to say we need the client list released. Well, here's the question. If Maxwell was convicted, who has the power to keep that information a secret, to cover up who she was trafficking to? That's all I can say, Because it's the government. It's the judicial system. It's the courts. They are protecting these people. Who would have the power? Multinational corporations, executives, the ultra wealthy, people who are caught up in the Panama Papers, you name it. They must exist, I guess. We just don't know who. Do they run the governments? I don't know. All I know is powerful interests with influence over government agencies are keeping that information a secret. So what am I supposed to assume? And they tell me that's crazy to think. Y'all convicted Maxwell, not me. I want to know who she was trafficking to. Well, this is what happens. The narrative is breaking down. The lies, the manipulations, they're breaking down. People are saying no more. The Guidestones, to put it simply, erected in 1980, containing these rules. Maintain humanity. Let's go through the rules. They say there's 10 rules. Maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Why? Why 500 million? The languages on them are English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindi, Hebrew, Arabic, traditional Chinese, and Russian. Why 500 million? Who decided that? Guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. That sounds like eugenics. Unite humanity with a new living language. What does that even mean? They did not give anybody Guidestones. It's just a vanity project, if you ask me. Rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. I can respect that. Protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. Agreed. Let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. Agreed. We rule our country, and instead of going to war, a world court decides, but not over our internal laws. Avoid petty laws and useless officials. Agreed. Balance personal rights with social duties. That one I agree with. Right now, we have a lack of social duty. You have these people on the left thinking like wearing a mask is social duty. No. Talking about community. We don't have that. Prize truth, beauty, and love, seeking harmony with the infinite. Meaningless garbage. Be not a cancer on the earth. Leave room for nature. Leave room for nature. Yeah. We get it. Now, they were erected March 22nd, 1980. Let these Guidestones let these be Guidestones to an age of reason. There's astronomical features, so you can find the noontime throughout the year, the annual travel of the sun, celestial poles. There's ways to calculate height and weight, so you can translate our units of measurement. Okay. Now, there are some interpretations. A stirring call to rational thinking, says Yoko Ono. Subject of conspiracy theories. One of them, an activist named Mark Dice, demanded the Guidestones be smashed into 1,000,000 pieces and let the rubble be, and then the rubble used for a construction project, claiming the Guidestones are of deep satanic origin. Interesting. One interpretation of the stones, the basic concepts to rebuild the devastated civilization after a nuclear World War III. 1979, the height of the Cold War. The Guidestones were briefly discussed in the documentary films Sherman's March and Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, and were featured extensively in a 2012 episode of Mysteries at the Museum, a monumental mysteries special featuring Don Wildman. Somebody bombed them. That freaks me out. Please do not bomb stuff. But this shows the escalation is here. The left went and tore down statues. Now you've got someone bombing the Guidestones. This is how it begins. Not like the Guidestones are a symbol of leftism or anything like that, but they're considered a monument to globalism and internationalism. Apparent advocacy for population control and eugenics. I'm not surprised someone went and attacked them. But who? The fact that these were bombed shows a level of organization to some degree. This was not targeting people. This was targeting a symbol. This is not a crazy random act. This was a planned thing, and that freaks me out. I want to show you this from Gallup. This is from just the other day. Confidence in U.S. institutions is down. Average at a new low. The lowest on the chart, Congress. 2022. Percent with a great deal or quite a lot of confidence. In Congress, 7. Who? Who has confidence at all in Congress? That to me is absolutely insane. Television news, 11%. Big business, 14%. The criminal justice system, 14%. Newspapers, 16%. The presidency, 23%. I want to repeat that for you. In 2021, 38% of people had faith in the presidency, had confidence. Today, only 23%. This means U.S. confidence in our institutions has collapsed. And that means civil war. I know. I say it a lot, but let me explain. There is nothing but confidence. That's all that exists. Why is it that there is a person who would say, I will not do such a thing? Two things. One, scruples, individual personal morality. And two, consequences of society. For many people, they care not for individual. There is no individual issue. For many people, they say, I would steal if I could. But there are consequences. And that consequence comes from the government. Why would you accept $1 for work? Let's say someone says, do X for me, I'll give you $1. $100. Let's say you do work for me, I'll give you $100. Wow. $100 for 1 hour of work is pretty good. Why would you accept that $100? Because you have confidence that that $100 will be able to get you something from someone else. That's what it comes down to, confidence. Someone says, I will give you a green picture of Benjamin Franklin, and you say, I want that because I have confidence that someone else will give me food or gasoline in exchange for that green picture of money. But what if you had no confidence? What if you said, I have no confidence anyone will take that from me? Then you would not take it either. It is a long chain, the confidence. When the confidence in the presidency is shattered and people believe the government cannot enforce laws properly, or neither can banks, they will stop using them. And when they do, the system will implode. Now, 64% have confidence in military, 45% in the police. And that's why things haven't collapsed completely. When we get to the point where confidence in the police is at an all-time low, people will stop paying attention to them. And it's happening. When there's no confidence in the military, people will stop caring. They'll view them as rogue actors. That is the path we are on. It is shocking to me that the presidency sits at 23%. Obviously, Joe Biden's the cause of that. But think about what this means. They said that Donald Trump was an existential threat to all of us. So they elected Joe Biden. Joe Biden has revealed the emperor has no clothes. There is now no faith in the presidency. 77% of the people in this country, we could estimate, do not have confidence in the presidency. That's actually kind of terrifying. And in Congress and the Supreme Court, 25%. Confidence in the three branches of government is in the gutter. So what happens when someone says, I don't care what the Supreme Court says? The Supreme Court just issued a ruling on gun rights, and New York said, we don't care. Maryland came out and said, oh, okay, we'll adhere to that, but for the most part, we don't care. Maryland said, we will get rid of this provision requiring a reason for getting a gun permit, but still require you to pass tests and skill assessments and pay money and take time infringing upon your right to keep and bear arms. For the longest time, the states have been disregarding the will of the people. And I don't mean some nebulous democratic idea. I mean that we have a constitution, that we have a government, that we have rulings, and the states say, don't care. The Constitution is clear, isn't it? Now, maybe we need to amend the Constitution. We've been unable to meaningfully because our country is split. Maybe it's time for the country to actually split, for there to be two different constitutions before everyone rips each other apart. But I'll tell you, if 77% of people in this country don't have faith in the presidency, that includes Democrats as well. So what happens next? People start bombing things. It starts with the Georgia Guidestones. It starts with tearing down statues. It starts with renaming streets. I hope you're ready for this wild ride. I hope you are getting prepared for supply chain disruptions and a lack of food. They've been telling us that because of the war in Ukraine, fertilizer is in short supply. So crops weren't planted in the springtime properly, or they were, but they weren't given proper fertilizer, which means that come the fall harvest, there will be a lot less food than you realize. But here's another major punch in the gut. Diesel shortages and diesel prices means that even if they did grow the food, the cost of harvesting it will skyrocket. The ability to harvest it will be dramatically hindered. It's not just that there won't be food growing because of the fertilizer. They may not even be able to get it because diesel is in short supply. When the food is gone, when the confidence in the federal government has been shattered, you get to the point where people just say, enough. And they'll start planning their own way. Think about it this way. Everyone speeds, right? Why? Everyone goes about 5 miles over the speed limit or more. Out here in the middle of nowhere, the speed limit will be 55 and people are going 70. No one gets pulled over because everyone does it. So what do the cops do? Single someone out? Okay. And then they argue in court, look, I didn't want to speed, but everyone's going 70. What am I supposed to do? Impede traffic and cause a risk to everyone else? Some people have won on that argument. The point is that when every human simply says, when every person, I'm not playing that game, the game ceases to exist. The speed limit sign, more guidelines, I guess. I don't think you should speed, by the way. But everyone does just a little bit. What happens when people feel that the presidency, the Congress, the Supreme Court are meaningless? Congress could codify Roe v. Wade, and the states could be like, don't care. Do something about it. Why cooperate? Why would anyone play a game that everyone else isn't playing? The left and the right both agree on something. They believe that neither side is playing by the rules. And if that's the case, it doesn't matter who actually is and who isn't. What matters is that both sides will simply say, if you're not playing fair, why should I play fair? And then if neither side plays fair, then there's no game at all. Imagine you're playing dodgeball and one side cheats. The other side says, you cheated, so we're going to cheat too. You're not playing dodgeball anymore. Now everyone's just running around being like, your rules don't count. And then what? The game stops, I guess. Here's what I think. I think the lies have gone on too much. The system has been crumbling for too long. Here's an example, just a simple example. Josh Meyer, verified blue check, USA Today correspondent, posted this story on Twitter. DeSantis signs bill requiring Florida students to register their political views with the state. Salon, which has a 100 out of 100 from NewsGuard, wrote the story. PolitiFact debunked it a year ago, and PolitiFact is full of it as well. No one was ever asked to give their political views. They were surveyed on how they feel about the political views in the system, not their own. Salon lied. Salon is called legitimate news. Isn't it amazing? By NewsGuard. There's no way to fix this problem. The problem is that our culture is fractured. It fractured a long time ago. It bifurcated. And now there's two distinct universes occupying one country. Either this country peacefully divorces or they fight and violently divorce. Bombing the Georgia Guidestones. I want to repeat that for you. Leveling it, leaving nothing but rubble. Not the whole thing. I fear we're going to see more of this. Now, the media can come out all day and night and say things like the far right's the real threat, but guess what? 11% of people have confidence in the news outlet. So if that's the case, nobody believes them anyway. I do not believe that the left is popular in this country, that Democrats are popular in this country. I don't believe it. I really don't. I believe many people are ignorant. And I think that what you see on Twitter is a facsimile, is fake. It's fake. It's fake news. We saw what happened when Elon said he was going to buy the platform. Progressives and Democrats lost their followers and people on the right gained tons of followers. I think that's how you know who's real and who's fake, who's being followed by bots and who's being followed by real people. I think the media has tried to create a narrative to control the machine by telling Americans that everyone's actually far left. A lot of people are. 8 to 10%, and they're given prominent positions. They control media, they control institutions, but people are saying no more. We may be on the verge of something dangerous, something remarkable, not in a good way. A major shift is coming to this country. It's here. Now, the Guidestones may be freaky, but it seems like, you call it the right, call it whatever you want, anti-establishment is starting to return in kind when the left tore down statues. What will we see now? Will they go after BLM flags, things like that? Maybe. Well, I'll keep you updated on the story, and we'll see if they find out who did it. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.